I used to think my life was perfect. Every morning I woke up next to Daniel, his arm draped across my waist, his soft breathing next to my ear. We lived in a cozy little house on Maple Street. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. We picked out the curtains together, argued over the paint color for the kitchen, and filled the fridge with silly magnets from our trips. It felt like the kind of life people post about online. The kind people envy. On weekends, we'd make pancakes and dance in the kitchen to songs from the 90s. I thought those moments were special. I thought they meant something. Daniel worked long hours at his marketing job, and I supported him, always telling him how proud I was. I never complained when he came home late. I told myself he was building something for us, for our future. My best friend Lisa was always around too. She was the maid of honor at our wedding, the one who helped me pick out my dress, the one who cried when I said, I do. She was like family. She even had a key to our house because, as she always said, I'm basically your sister, right? Looking back, I guess there were signs. Little things I ignored. Like the way Daniel's phone always seemed to face down when he was with me. Or how Lisa started dressing up more when she came over, wearing perfume that used to make Daniel say, "You smell amazing." But I brushed those thoughts aside. I told myself I was just overthinking. After all, I trusted them. They were my world. One night, we had a small party at our house. Daniel invited some co-workers. Lisa was there, of course. Everyone was laughing, drinking, having a good time. I remember standing in the kitchen, watching Daniel and Lisa joke on the couch. Their heads too close. The way her hand touched his arm a little too long. Relax, Mia, I told myself. They're just friends. You're being silly. But something about the way Daniel looked at her that night made my stomach twist. Are you okay? Lisa asked, appearing behind me with her fake worried voice. She always had this way of acting like she cared more than she did. Yeah, just tired, I smiled, brushing it off. I didn't want to seem crazy. I didn't want to ruin the night. I smiled a lot back then. Even when my heart felt tight in my chest. Even when I felt invisible. It wasn't just at the party. It became a pattern. Daniel's attention slipping away. Lisa always knowing too much about what Daniel liked, what he was going through, things I didn't even know he shared. But I pushed those thoughts down. I pushed them so deep. They almost disappeared. I kept telling myself, this is what love looks like. This is what friendship feels like. I kept myself busy with work, with baking, with redecorating the house. I tried to hold on tighter, thinking if I just made everything perfect, Daniel would see me again, that he'd come back to me fully. One Saturday morning, I made his favorite breakfast, eggs, bacon, and waffles with strawberries. I set the table, even lit a little candle. I waited for him to come downstairs, but when he did, he barely looked at the table. I'm meeting a client, he said, grabbing his keys. On a Saturday? I tried to keep my voice light. It's important. He kissed my forehead like I was some little girl who didn't understand adult things. When he left, the food got cold. I sat there alone at the table, chewing on a waffle that tasted like cardboard. Lisa texted me not long after. Want to go shopping? You look like you need girl time. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to tell her to leave me alone. But instead I texted back, sure. Because that's who I was back then. The girl who smiled, who kept the peace, who tried to hold everything together even when it was falling apart. That night, I sat in bed alone. Daniel texted me he'd be working late. I stared at the wall, at the pictures of us smiling at the beach, at our wedding, at our first apartment. I couldn't sleep. I told myself I was overreacting, that every couple goes through rough patches, that maybe I just needed to try harder, be more understanding. But a tiny, sharp voice inside me whispered, "You're lying to yourself." I turned over, pulled the blanket over my head, and told that voice to shut up. Because I still believed in us. I still believed in them. I still believed in the life I thought was perfect. But the cracks were already there. I just didn't see how deep they went. Yet. It started with little things. Things so small I almost missed them. Like the night Daniel got a text while we were watching a movie. His phone buzzed on the couch between us. I picked it up to hand it to him. But when I did, the screen lit up. It was a message from Lisa. "Miss you already." My stomach did a strange flip. I stared at the words, thinking maybe I was seeing it wrong. Maybe it was some inside joke between friends. Daniel grabbed the phone from my hand, his face too calm, too practiced. "She's just joking," he said, laughing like it was nothing. "You know how Lisa is?" I nodded. Of course. Lisa joked like that all the time, didn't she? She was playful. That's what she did. But something about the way Daniel locked his phone after that stuck with me. The next day, I brushed it off. Told myself I was being silly. Overthinking. Lisa had been my best friend for years. She knew everything about me. She knew Daniel was off limits. That's how friendship worked. You trusted each other. Still, I couldn't forget the message. The words ran circles in my mind. "Miss you already." One afternoon, I met Lisa for coffee. Just like we always did. She showed up wearing a new dress, the kind Daniel always said he liked. She spun in front of me, laughing. "Do you like it? Got it on sale?" "It's cute," I said, forcing a smile. We sat by the window, sipping iced lattes, pretending everything was normal. "Danielle's been so stressed lately," Lisa said, stirring her drink. "You should remind him to take a break." My eyebrows pulled together. "He's been stressed. He hasn't really said much to me." She blinked fast, like she realized she'd said too much. "Oh, you know, he mentioned it when we were all at that party. You must have missed it." Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. That night Daniel came home late. He smelled like cologne that wasn't his usual one. I asked him where he'd been. "Work drinks," he said, loosening his tie. "Boring stuff." "Anyone I know?" "Just some co-workers." I wanted to ask if Lisa had been there, but the words got stuck in my throat. Instead, I just smiled and kissed his cheek. My head told me to stop digging, but my heart kept pulling at the loose threads. One day, while Daniel was in the shower, I noticed his jacket on the chair. His phone peeked from the pocket. I stared at it. My hands trembled. I told myself I wasn't that kind of person. I wasn't the type who snooped through phones. But that voice inside me whispered, "You already know something's wrong." I picked up the phone. The screen was locked, same as always. I put it back down, feeling sick. I told myself if I had to sneak around to find the truth, maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was the one breaking the trust. But the next weekend, we went to a barbecue at Daniel's boss's house. Lisa was there, of course. She was always there. I watched them from across the yard, the way they stood too close, laughing at jokes I couldn't hear. The way Lisa put her hand on his chest when she laughed. Like I wasn't even there. I joined them, plastering a smile on my face. "What's so funny?" I asked. Lisa smiled sweetly. "Oh, just work stuff. You wouldn't get it." Daniel nodded, his arm brushing against hers. I laughed, pretending I didn't feel like I was standing outside a locked door. Later, as the sun went down, I walked back from the restroom and heard voices from the side of the house. Lisa and Daniel. I froze behind the corner. "I think she suspects," Daniel's voice. "Low. Careful." Lisa giggled. "She's too soft, Daniel. She'll never do anything." They both laughed. The sound went through me like a knife. I backed away, heart pounding. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. They thought I was soft, that I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't do anything. I walked back into the party, my legs shaking. I smiled at the other guests. I poured myself lemonade like nothing had happened. Like my world hadn't just cracked in half. For the rest of the night, I kept smiling. I let them believe I didn't hear. I let them think they were winning. But something inside me changed that night. The whispers behind my back weren't whispers anymore. They were screams, and I heard them loud and clear. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because Daniel always had his late work nights on Thursdays. It became a habit. I'd make myself dinner, watch a show alone, and tell myself this was normal. That's what people did in grown-up relationships. That night, something felt off. Maybe it was the way he didn't kiss me goodbye, like he usually did, or how he left in a hurry, almost like he couldn't wait to get away from me. I tried to shake it off, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I cleaned up the kitchen. I burned my dinner, couldn't even finish my glass of wine. At around 8, I got in my car. I told myself I just needed air. A drive. Some fresh air to clear my head. But I didn't drive to the park or the beach like I normally would. My hands turned the wheel toward his office. I told myself I wasn't checking up on him. I just wanted to see the city lights. Maybe he'd be there working late, and I'd surprise him with coffee. Something cute, like couples do. The parking lot was almost empty when I pulled in. Most of the lights in the building were off, except one, his office window. I sat there for a minute, telling myself to leave. Go home. Don't make yourself look crazy. But my legs moved on their own. I walked to the glass doors. They were still unlocked. The hall was quiet, except for the soft hum of the vending machine and the clicking sound of heels. I followed the sound, and that's when I saw them, through the crack in his office door. Lisa's laugh, high and soft, like she was trying to sound shy. Daniel leaning over his desk, his tie off, his sleeves rolled up, her hand on his chest. I froze. They were standing close, too close. His hand brushed a strand of her hair behind her ear. She giggled again. Then she kissed him, and he kissed her back. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been seconds. Could have been hours. Everything around me felt heavy, like the air itself didn't want me there. They broke apart, still smiling, still whispering things I couldn't hear. Daniel's hand stayed on her waist like it belonged there, like I didn't exist. My throat felt tight. My heart hammered against my ribs. My legs wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I pushed the door open. They both looked up at the same time, and they smiled, like it was funny, like they didn't care that I saw. Lisa tilted her head, her lips still shiny from his kiss. "Mia," she said sweetly, like she was happy to see me. "What are you doing here?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My mind was blank, like I forgot how to speak. Daniel leaned back in his chair, calm as ever. "It's not what it looks like," he said. But we all knew it was exactly what it looked like. I stared at them, my hands shaking so hard I had to grip the doorframe. Lisa crossed her arms, acting like she was the victim. "We didn't mean for you to find out like this," she said softly. "Oh," I finally managed to say. "How was I supposed to find out? A note? A cute selfie of you two in bed?" Daniel sighed like I was the one causing the problem. "Mia, this isn't working anymore," he said. "You know it." I shook my head. "I thought we were fine." He laughed. Actually laughed. "You thought wrong." The words hit me like a punch. My heart dropped to the floor, but they just sat there, still looking at me like I was some stupid girl who didn't know the rules of the game. Lisa stepped forward, fake concern on her face. "I hope we can still be friends," she whispered. Friends. Like that was even possible now. I swallowed the lump in my throat and looked at both of them. Really looked at them. The way they sat together, like they were already a couple. Like they'd already replaced me. I turned without saying anything else. I walked out, my legs shaking, my eyes burning, but I didn't let them see me cry. Not there. Not in front of them. When I got to my car, I sat behind the wheel, staring at the empty parking lot. I wanted to scream, to break something, to cry until there was nothing left, but I didn't. I just sat there, numb, because the pain was too big, too heavy. They didn't even try to hide it. They didn't even feel sorry. They smiled. And that smile haunted me the whole drive home. It was the smile that told me they thought they won, that they thought I was weak. That night, I cried myself to sleep, but something inside me was changing. They thought they broke me, but they didn't know me at all. I didn't leave the house for 3 days. I stayed in bed, the blankets pulled over my head, like they could hide me from the world. I turned my phone off. I didn't want to see their faces, their texts, their lies. I didn't even answer when my mum called. Or when my friend Jess knocked on my door, her voice worried, asking if I was okay. I wasn't okay. I was broken, completely broken. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Daniel and Lisa, smiling, laughing, together, like I was nothing, like I never mattered. I replayed every moment in my head, over and over, like some horrible movie I couldn't turn off. Their kiss, the way they looked at each other, the way they looked at me like I was stupid for not seeing it sooner. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life had gone so wrong so fast. I kept asking myself the same question. How did I not see it? How did I let this happen? I thought about the dinners I cooked for Daniel, the gifts I bought for Lisa, all the times I put them first, made sure they were happy, made sure they felt loved. And this is what I got in return. Betrayed, lied to, humiliated. The worst part wasn't that they cheated. The worst part was they didn't even try to hide it anymore. They wanted me to see it. They wanted me to feel small, like I wasn't enough. And it worked. I felt like I was disappearing, like I was fading into the walls of my own house. The house I built with Daniel. The house that now felt like a trap. On the 4th day, I finally got up. My mouth was dry, my head pounding from crying too much. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were puffy, red. Her hair was a mess. Her lips cracked. I looked like a ghost. I splashed cold water on my face, but it didn't help. The pain was still there, sitting heavy on my chest. I walked into the kitchen. The silence was loud. The clock ticked on the wall like it was mocking me. Tick, tick, tick. Each second a reminder that I was still here, stuck, while they were out there living their happy little life. I saw Daniel's favorite coffee mug on the counter, the one that said "Best Husband Ever." I picked it up, stared at it. Then, without thinking, I threw it at the wall. It shattered into tiny pieces, falling like broken promises onto the floor. I sank to my knees, shaking. Tears rolled down my face again, but I didn't try to stop them. I let them fall. I let the pain pour out of me. I screamed into my hands, letting out the kind of cry that comes from deep, deep inside, the kind that leaves you empty. I stayed like that for what felt like forever. When I finally stopped crying, the house felt even quieter. It was like I had nothing left to give, nothing left to feel. I looked around at the mess. Pictures of Daniel and me still hung on the walls. Happy photos. Fake smiles. I hated them. I hated everything. I grabbed the nearest picture frame and ripped it off the wall. I threw it across the room. The glass cracked. I ripped down another one. And another. I pulled the blanket off our bed, threw his shirts out of the closet. I tore everything apart, needing to destroy something, anything, to match how destroyed I felt inside. When I was done, I sat in the middle of the mess, breathing hard, alone, so alone. I curled up on the floor, hugging my knees to my chest like a child. This was rock bottom. I could feel it in my bones. There was nothing left of the girl who used to smile, who used to believe in love and trust and friendship. She was gone, and all that was left was me. But I didn't even know who me was anymore. I sat there in the dark, the broken pieces of my life all around me. And for the first time in days, I asked myself a different question. What now? Because the pain was still there, but underneath it, something else was starting to rise. Something cold, something sharp. I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew one thing for sure. They thought they broke me. They thought I would disappear, fade away, and let them win. But they didn't know the part of me they woke up, and they were going to regret it. They were both going to regret it. That night was different. I didn't cry. I had cried enough. For days I let the pain drown me. I let the betrayal crush me. I let them take everything. My love, my trust, my pride. But that night, as I sat on the floor surrounded by broken photos and shattered memories, something inside me changed. I stared at the mess around me. But this time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt empty, calm, in a strange way, like my heart had gone numb, and all that was left was a cold, sharp piece of me I had never met before. I stood up slowly, wiped my face, and walked to the bathroom. I looked in the mirror again. The woman staring back still looked tired, but her eyes were different now. Harder. I washed my face, brushed my hair, and changed into clean clothes. I even put on some lip gloss. I don't know why, but it felt right. Like I was putting on armor. I cleaned up the mess in the house. Threw out the pictures, the clothes, all the things that reminded me of them. I moved quietly, carefully, like I had all the time in the world. When I was done, I sat at the kitchen table, turned my phone back on, and opened a blank page. For the first time, I stopped asking, why? I started asking how. How do I make them pay? How do I take back what they stole? How do I hurt them without lifting a finger? I wasn't going to scream or cry in front of them. Number. I was going to do it the smart way, the patient way. They thought I was soft. They thought I was weak. Fine. Let them think that. I opened Daniel's emails. I still knew his passwords. Of course I did. I was the trusting wife, the one who helped him set them up. I read through his work emails, his messages with Lisa. All the proof I needed was there. They were stupid, careless, acting like they owned the world. I took screenshots of everything, saved them in a hidden folder. Every message, every photo, every piece of their ugly truth. I found things I didn't even expect. Daniel had been lying to his boss, fudging numbers, making deals under the table. Things that could get him fired. Things that could get him sued. I smiled. For the first time in days, I smiled. I made copies of everything. Next, I checked our bank accounts. I was still listed on everything. The house, the savings, his fancy car. He never took me off. That was his first mistake. I made notes, printed documents, started a paper trail. I was going to make sure when I left, I didn't leave empty-handed. And Lisa, sweet, fake Lisa. I went through her social media, her photos, her fake smiles. I found out where she worked, who her boss was, what group she was part of. She liked to play the innocent victim online. Sweet girl next door, always posting about girl power and supporting women. The irony made me laugh. I wasn't going to fight her in the dirt. I was going to make her look in the mirror and hate what she saw. By midnight, I had a plan. Step by step. Quiet. Clean. No drama. No screaming matches. They would never see it coming. I sat there in the dark, sipping coffee, going over my notes. Every move had to be perfect. I wouldn't make the mistake of showing my hand too early. They thought they won. They thought I was broken. Good. Let them keep thinking that. I sent an email to Daniel's boss, using an anonymous account, attaching some of the proof. Not all of it. Just enough to shake the ground under his feet. I knew he wouldn't get the email until the morning, but I slept better that night than I had in days. Before I went to bed, I looked around the house one more time. The house that used to feel like a cage. It felt different now. It felt like a weapon. I would let them have their fun for a little longer. Let them laugh. Let them think they got away with it. Because when I made my move, they would lose everything. And I wouldn't have to raise my voice once. I turned off the lights, crawled into bed, and smiled into the dark. I wasn't the same Mia anymore, and they had no idea what was coming. I let them believe they won. I didn't call Daniel. I didn't block Lisa. I didn't send angry messages or post anything online. I stayed quiet, silent. They thought that meant I gave up. They thought I was gone. They thought I would disappear, like a sad little shadow. That was their second mistake. I went to work like normal, smiled at people, answered emails. No one knew what was really going on. No one knew I was living in the same house with a man who had already left me in his heart. Daniel barely noticed me anymore. He came home late, left early. When he did see me, he acted like everything was fine. Long day, he'd say, kissing my cheek, like he was still the perfect husband. I smiled back. Of course, babe, I'd answer, sweet as honey. I cooked his dinner, washed his clothes, let him think I was still playing the role of the good wife. He would sit at the table, texting. Probably Lisa. I never asked. I didn't need to. He thought I was too weak to do anything, that I was still crying in secret. I wasn't. Lisa called me once, just once. She sounded fake happy, asking if we could talk. Mia, I think we should clear the air. I really hope we can still be friends. I don't want things to be weird. I smiled as I held the phone. I'd love that, Lisa, I said in my sweetest voice. Let's talk soon. But we never did, because I had nothing to say to her. I watched them from the outside. I followed their lives like a silent ghost. They went to restaurants, posted pictures like a perfect couple. Lisa wore the necklace Daniel once gave me for our anniversary. She smiled like she owned the world. They posted selfies at places Daniel and I once shared memories. It was like they were erasing me from the story. They even made it public, told our friends we had grown apart, that they didn't mean to fall in love, but it just happened. I let them tell their story. I let them live their lie, because I had my own story now. Every night I added to my folder. I gathered more proof, more dirt, more secrets they thought were buried. I met with a lawyer in secret. Learned what I needed to do to make sure when I left I didn't just leave. I took what was mine. Daniel's company was about to face a surprise audit, thanks to the little email I sent his boss last week. The cracks were already showing. I heard him on the phone, angry, stressed, blaming his employees. Lisa posted pictures of a new job offer she got. She bragged about it online. What she didn't know was that I sent her new boss a little package with screenshots of her dirty texts to Daniel while still pretending to be my best friend. I didn't say it came from me. Why would I? Let them guess. Let them wonder. The best part was they still believed they had won. Daniel brought home flowers one night, threw them on the table like some prize. Let's be civil, Mia. We both knew this wasn't working. Let's make this easy. I smiled, took the flowers, and placed them in a vase. You're right, Daniel. Let's make it easy. He looked surprised, like he expected me to throw the flowers back at him, like he wanted a fight. But I gave him nothing. Nothing but a smile. The calmer I acted, the more he relaxed. The more careless they became. They thought I was numb, empty, beaten. They didn't know I was watching their every move. They didn't know I was stacking my cards, waiting for the perfect hand. I even went to a party where they showed up together. Lisa wore red. Her arm wrapped around Daniel like she won the prize. She smiled at me like she pitied me. Glad you came, Mia, she said sweetly. We were worried about you. I smiled back. I'm doing great, Lisa. Really great. Daniel put on his fake caring face. We hope you can move on soon, Mia. You deserve to be happy too. I laughed softly. You're right. I do. They walked away, smirking like they owned the room. I sipped my drink, calm, silent, watching them. No one knew what I was planning, and that was exactly how I wanted it. They thought I would disappear, but I was still here, still smiling, still waiting. They had no idea the storm was already coming, and when it hit, they wouldn't even see it until it was too late. They thought they were building their perfect life together. They thought they could take everything that was mine and make it theirs. Daniel bought a new condo downtown, the kind of place he always said was too flashy when we were together. Now, it was suddenly his dream home. Big glass windows, fancy furniture. Lisa bragged about it online, like she owned the city. They posted pictures of their housewarming party. Everyone smiling, holding champagne, pretending to be happy for them. I didn't say a word, but I was already inside their perfect little world. They didn't know I had friends in places they forgot about, people they used to ignore, people they stepped on to get where they were, like Daniel's old assistant, Kelly. Kelly never liked Lisa. She told me once at a work party. She's the kind of girl who takes what she wants and smiles while she does it. Kelly owed me a favor. I called her one day, casual, friendly. "Hey, Kelly, I just wanted to catch up." She laughed. "I heard about Daniel and Lisa. What a mess." "Yeah," I said softly. "You wouldn't believe how much dirt they left behind." "Oh, I would," Kelly said. "He was always sloppy. Always thought he was the smartest guy in the room." We met for coffee the next day. I handed her a flash drive. "Just in case anyone ever wants to know the truth," I said. She smiled, slipped it into her purse. "Consider it handled," she said. I knew Kelly would spread the right whispers to the right ears. Daniel's boss, the board, members, the investors he always bragged about, people who didn't like surprises. While that seed grew, I focused on Lisa. She got her dream job at a big company across town. She couldn't stop posting about it, tagging herself at events, smiling like the queen of the world. She didn't know I had already sent her private messages to her new boss. The ones where she called her co-workers idiots and bragged about sleeping with her friend's husband to get ahead. All the proof they needed to see, the real Lisa. Her posts slowed down after that. Her smile in the selfies looked tighter. Daniel started coming home earlier. Less smiling in his photos. Less bragging. I heard from a friend that his company's audit found irregularities. Daniel blamed his team, of course, but it didn't matter. His name was on the papers. I didn't need to lift a finger. They were doing all the work for me. One by one, their perfect little dream started to crack. And I just watched, smiling. When I filed for divorce, I made sure it looked clean, friendly even. Daniel agreed right away. He thought he was winning again. "Let's just keep it easy," he said, signing the papers like he was doing me a favor. I nodded. Of course. Easy. What he didn't read carefully was that I was taking half of everything. And because he moved Lisa into our home before we were legally done, the law was on my side. The house was still mine. He thought I would leave quietly. Instead, I told him to be out by the end of the week. I changed the locks the next day. Lisa posted some sad cryptic message online about fake people and karma. I laughed when I saw it. I wasn't done yet. I bought the condo next door to theirs. It was petty. I knew that. But I didn't care. I threw a party of my own. Invited all the people they cut out of their lives. People they stepped on. I made sure to post pictures. Happy faces. Laughter. Fun. Daniel and Lisa peeked out from their fancy glass windows. I waved. They slammed the curtains shut. Their dream was now my playground. They couldn't escape me. Not in the city they thought they owned. They saw me at the gym, at the coffee shop, at charity events. They couldn't avoid me. And every time they saw me, I smiled. I wore the dress Daniel said wasn't flattering. I wore the perfume Lisa used to borrow from me. I looked them in the eyes and smiled. Because now they were the ones shrinking. They were the ones looking over their shoulders. They were the ones living in fear of the next move. But I didn't have to make a move. I already won. They destroyed themselves. All I did was let them, and that was the sweetest part of all. I planned the dinner carefully. Every detail was perfect. It wasn't just any dinner. It was a charity gala, the kind Daniel and Lisa loved to show up to, pretending they cared about the world when all they cared about was showing off. I knew they would be there. I made sure of it. I wore a red dress, the kind that made people stop and stare. The same color Lisa always wore when she wanted attention. Let her see how it looked on me. I walked into the room like I owned it. Like I had never been broken, never been betrayed. People turned to look. Whispers followed me, but I didn't care. I kept my head high. I spotted them near the center table. Daniel in his expensive suit. Lisa hanging on to his arm like a trophy. They froze when they saw me. Lisa's smile faltered for just a second, but she recovered fast. "Mia," she said, sweetly, walking over like we were old friends. "You look good," I smiled back. "So do you, Lisa, though I'm surprised to see you here, after everything that's happened." She blinked, but kept her fake smile. "We all move on, right? No hard feelings?" Daniel joined her, his face tight. He didn't look as confident as he used to. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I leaned in just a little. "Of course," I said. "No hard feelings at all." They thought this was going to be another chance to show me how happy they were. They had no idea. The dinner began. I made sure I was seated at the same table as them. I pulled some strings. It wasn't hard. People still liked me more than them. I made sure of that. Lisa tried to act like she owned the table. She laughed too loud, told fake stories about how wonderful her life was. Daniel joined in, talking about his big projects, even though I knew he was hanging by a thread at work. I sat quietly sipping my wine, smiling at the right moments. And then came the part I planned. The host of the event stood up to announce the donors and partners for the new women's shelter the charity was opening. I had made a big donation, in secret, and they were about to announce the person who made it happen. The host smiled at me. "Everyone, we want to thank one of our biggest supporters tonight, a woman who knows what it means to rebuild after betrayal. Mia." The room clapped as I stood. Lisa's face dropped. Daniel looked confused. I walked to the stage, holding the mic. "Thank you," I said, smiling at the crowd. "It's funny, isn't it? How sometimes the people who say they love you are the ones who hurt you the most." The room grew quiet. I could feel Lisa's eyes burning into me. "Some people think they can take everything from you. Your home, your friends, even your husband." People at the table shifted uncomfortably. "But what they forget," I continued, "is that women like me don't stay down for long." I paused. I could see Daniel's face turning red. Lisa grabbed his arm. I smiled sweetly at them. Tonight's about second chances, about giving women the tools to stand up, to fight back, and to take back their power. The crowd clapped, some nodding, some looking at Daniel and Lisa like they finally saw the truth. I stepped off the stage, walked back to the table, and sat down across from them. Silence. Lisa tried to speak first. "That was brave of you," she said, her voice tight. I sipped my wine. "Oh, I'm just getting started." Daniel looked like he wanted to say something, but the waiter interrupted, handing him a letter. He opened it. His face turned pale. It was from his company. Termination notice, effective immediately. I leaned in. You should check your emails too, I whispered. Your investors know everything now. He opened his phone. Lisa leaned over, panic in her voice. What's going on? He shoved the phone at her, her face twisted. More emails, more leaks. Everything I'd been collecting for months was now out in the open. Their lies, their deals, their private messages. Everyone important knew. Lisa stood up, knocking over her glass. You did this. I smiled. I warned you, Lisa. You thought you won. But you never did. Daniel stood too, face red, hands shaking. You ruined us. I laughed softly. No, Daniel. You ruined yourselves. I just made sure everyone saw it. They stormed out of the room, faces burning, whispers following them. I stayed at the table, calm, sipping my wine as people congratulated me, told me how brave I was. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. I served them their karma on a silver platter, and it tasted sweet. They thought it was over. They thought the dinner was the end of it. They lost their jobs. Their friends turned on them, and their perfect little world crashed down in front of everyone. I could see it in their faces as they stormed out of the gala, humiliated, defeated. But they didn't know I was still holding one last card, the one thing they never saw coming. I waited. For days I stayed quiet. I let them stew in their mess. Daniel sent me a message first. It was short, cold. You made your point. Now leave us alone. I didn't reply. Lisa posted sad quotes on social media, begging for sympathy from people who once adored her. But I had no more words for them. Not yet. They thought I had fired all my shots. But I was saving the biggest for last. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about making sure they could never hurt anyone the way they hurt me. It was about making sure they felt what I felt. Small, powerless, invisible. A week after the dinner, I sent Daniel an invitation. It looked like an official letter from our lawyers. Final property meeting. Must attend. He showed up at the old house we once shared. I knew he would. He wanted to settle the last of the paperwork, clean up the last pieces of the mess. Lisa came with him, of course. They walked in like they still owned the place. Daniel looked around, disgusted. I can't believe you still live here, he said, smirking. Must be sad, clinging to the past. I smiled. I don't live here anymore, Daniel. He frowned. What are you talking about? I handed him the papers. I sold the house. He looked at the paper, confused. Lisa leaned in, squinting. To who? She asked, her voice sharp. To me, I said. They both blinked. Daniel laughed. That doesn't make sense. You already own it. I shook my head. No, Daniel, I sold the house to my company, which means I don't own it. The company does. Lisa's face twisted. What company? I slid a glossy brochure across the table. It had a shiny logo, my name on it. Mia's Haven, luxury rental group. Daniel's jaw dropped. You turned our house into a rental? I smiled sweetly. A luxury one. High price. Short-term stays. You know, the kind people rent for events, photo shoots, parties. Lisa turned pale. You can't do that. I already did, I said, leaning back in the chair. And since the house is under the company, and you broke the rules by living here during the divorce, I can charge you for every day you stayed here after the papers were signed. Daniel's face turned red. Lisa opened her mouth, but no words came out. I handed them the bill. They both stared at the number. It was huge. Weeks of back rent, penalties, fees. Daniel slammed the paper on the table. You're insane. No, I said calmly. I'm smart. I stood up, looking them both in the eye. You thought you could take everything from me. My house, my pride, my life. I smiled. But you forgot something important, Daniel. I know you. I know how you think. I know you always miss the small details. Lisa grabbed Daniel's arm. We're not paying this. I shrugged. That's fine. I'll see you in court. And of course, I'll make sure every client, investor, and friend you still have gets a copy of this lawsuit. Daniel's lips pressed into a hard line. Lisa's eyes darted around the room, like she was looking for a way out. There was none. I walked to the door, opened it for them. You can leave now. The house is booked this weekend for a photo shoot. I'd hate for the models to see you sitting here like squatters. They stood, but didn't move right away. They looked at me like they didn't recognize me anymore. Good. That was the point. They finally left, their heads down, their shoulders tight. I closed the door behind them and let out a long breath. It was done. They thought. They had broken me. They thought I would disappear. But I didn't. I turned their dream into my playground. I turned their safe place into my business. They thought they owned the story. But I was always the writer. And this chapter ended exactly how I wanted. The fallout came faster than I thought. Within days of our final meeting, Daniel and Lisa's perfect little world crumbled for everyone to see. It wasn't just whispers now. It was front and center. Daniel's name showed up in news articles. Fraud. Embezzlement. Disgraced businessman. Words that used to belong to other people were now tied to him. He tried to blame his team, the accountants, anyone but himself. But no one believed him anymore. His investors pulled out. His company fired him officially and quietly. They wanted to bury the mess fast before it spread further. But it was too late. Lisa got dragged down with him. Her new company found out about her involvement. The messages, the lies, the ugly side she tried to hide behind fake smiles and hashtags. They didn't want her name linked to theirs. She got fired too. The pictures of her perfect life stopped. The happy posts disappeared. People unfollowed her in silence. The phone stopped ringing. The invites stopped coming. I heard from friends that they tried to get help from people they once ignored. Old friends, old co-workers. But no one wanted to answer their calls. The doors they once slammed in others' faces were now closed on them. They lost their condo. Couldn't make the payments without Daniel's job. They tried to move back into our old house. But that door was shut too. I watched them from my office, which overlooked the rental property now. Watched them stand outside the gate, arguing in the driveway, looking small and lost. I didn't go outside. I didn't need to. They saw the for rent sign with my company logo on it. They knew exactly who they were dealing with now. One night, I heard from an old friend who used to run in their circle. Did you see them lately, Mia? She asked. They look like ghosts. I nodded. They'll get used to it, I said. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't feel the need to hurt them anymore, because they already lost everything that mattered to them. And it wasn't the house or the money. It was the attention, the fake respect, the status. They lived for the eyes on them, for the applause. And now all they had were whispers behind their backs, pity, disgust, laughter. I ran into them once, at the grocery store. They looked like strangers, tired, worn down, eyes darting like they were afraid someone might notice them. Daniel pushed the cart. Lisa walked behind him, head down, no makeup, no bright dress. They saw me. I smiled. Lisa tried to hold her chin up. "Mia," she said, her voice weak. "I guess you're still around." I looked her straight in the eye. I was never the one who left. Daniel didn't say a word. He just kept pushing the cart. And for the first time he looked small, to me, like a man who knew he lost. And I didn't feel bad for him, not even a little, because they didn't just lose jobs or homes. They lost their pride. They lost their image. They lost the power they thought they had over me. They lost more than they ever took from me. And that was the kind of revenge that didn't need screaming or fighting. It was slow, silent. It cut deeper. I walked past them, head high. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. They weren't worth my time anymore. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, looking at the city lights. My life was quiet now, calm, but not empty. I built something new from the ashes they left me in, and it was mine. No one could take it from me again. I thought about the woman I was before, the one who cried in the dark, begging them to love her, to see her, to pick her. That woman was gone. I didn't need them to see me. I saw myself now, and I liked who I saw. They thought they could take everything from me, but I was the one who ended up with everything that mattered. Freedom, peace, and a life they could only dream of now. They wanted me to disappear, but I stayed. And they were the ones who faded away. It felt strange at first. The silence, the peace. For the first time in months, maybe even years, I wasn't waiting for someone to hurt me. I wasn't waiting for the next lie, the next betrayal. There were no games to play, no fake smiles to wear. It was just me. And for once, that was enough. I walked through the house. The house, that used to feel like a prison. The walls didn't feel heavy anymore. The rooms felt lighter, like they belonged to me now, fully and completely. I opened the windows. Let the air in, let the past out. The pictures were gone. The memories that once lived on the shelves were replaced with new things. Things I picked. For me, not for Daniel, not for Lisa. I took a deep breath. The air smelled fresh, clean, like a new start. That weekend, I packed up the last of the old things. The boxes of wedding, photos, the gifts Lisa once gave me, pretending to be my best friend. All of it. I didn't cry when I taped the boxes shut. I didn't feel anything at all. I drove them to a donation center. The man at the door smiled as he took the boxes. "You letting go of the old to make room for the new?" He joked. I smiled back. "Exactly." I left without looking back. For the first time, I wasn't running from the past. I was letting it go. A few days later, I got a call from a friend. Jess. She was the only one who stayed through everything. The one who saw me at my worst and didn't turn away. She invited me to a small dinner. Just close friends. Nothing fancy. Nothing fake. At first, I told her I wasn't sure. I had spent so long hiding. So long building walls around myself, I forgot what it felt like to laugh. To trust people again. But something inside me whispered, "Go." So I did. When I walked into the restaurant, people smiled at me like they were happy to see me. And for once, I believed it. We laughed. We ate. We told stories that didn't hurt. No one asked about Daniel or Lisa. No one cared about them, and neither did I. At the end of the night, Jess hugged me. "I'm glad you came, Mia," she said. "You seem lighter." I smiled. "I feel lighter." When I got home, I sat on my balcony again. I looked at the city lights. The city used to feel like it belonged to them. Now it belonged to me. I opened my journal, the one I started on the night I stopped crying. I flipped through the pages, the pain, the anger, the plans. I read every word. Then I turned to a fresh page. I wrote one sentence. I choose me, not them, not the past, just me. And it felt right. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I booked a trip, a solo trip, to the place I always dreamed of going but never did because Daniel said it was too boring. Paris. I smiled as I clicked confirm. I wasn't doing it to show anyone. I was doing it because I wanted to, because I could. I stood in front of the mirror looking at myself. Not at the woman they tried to break. Not the woman who begged for love from people who never deserved her. I saw someone new, someone strong, someone free. I whispered to my reflection. You did it. I knew there would still be hard days. Healing isn't perfect. Some wounds take time, but I wasn't scared of them anymore. I wasn't scared of being alone, because I wasn't really alone. I had myself, and that was more than enough. I put on my shoes, grabbed my bag, and stepped out into the bright morning. The world looked different now. Or maybe I was just finally seeing it for what it was. Full of chances, full of new beginnings, full of life that didn't need them in it. They were part of my story. But they weren't the whole story. I was. And this chapter? This one was all mine. I heard they moved out of the city. No goodbye party, no fancy posts, no last show. They packed up what was left of their broken lives and left in silence. Some people said they moved to a small town far away, where no one knew them, where they could start over without the weight of their names. But the truth is, they couldn't escape. Not really. People talk. Stories follow you. The internet never forgets. Their names were still linked to the scandal. The pictures, the articles, the whispers. They were still out there for anyone to see. And they knew it. They couldn't erase me. They couldn't erase what they did. And they couldn't erase what I did to them. Even in a new town, they had to look over their shoulders, wondering if people knew who they really were. They had to live with that. Forever. I didn't have to do anything else. That was the beauty of it. I moved on with my life. I built my business. I traveled. I laughed again. I found new friends. Real friends. People who saw me. People who loved me for me. I didn't hide anymore. I didn't cry over them anymore. And sometimes, when I walked down the streets of the city, I'd hear people talk about them. People who didn't know I was the woman behind the story. They thought they were untouchable, someone said once at a party. They messed with the wrong woman, another person added. I smiled to myself. They did. They messed with the wrong woman. I even heard from a friend that Lisa tried to reach out to some of her old contacts, begging for a second chance. No one answered her calls. Daniel tried to start a new business. It failed. People didn't forget. They never would. And every time they saw a post from me, smiling, living my best life, they must have felt it. That sting, that regret, that reminder that they lost. Not just the house, not just the money. They lost the game they thought they won. They lost me, and they still regret ever meeting me. I could see it in their eyes the last time we ran into each other. It was by accident, at a small market when I was visiting a town nearby. They didn't expect to see me. Lisa froze. Daniel tried to act like he didn't see me, but I caught the way his face changed, They looked older, tired, like people who had lost everything and knew they would never get it back. Lisa tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Mia," she said softly, "you look different." I smiled back. "I am different." Daniel said nothing. He couldn't. They both stood there, holding on to a cart with cheap groceries, dressed in clothes that didn't fit their old life. They looked like ghosts of the people they used to be. I didn't feel sorry for them. Not anymore. Because they made their choices. And they paid the price. I stepped closer. Calm. Steady. "I heard you moved out here," I said. Lisa nodded, her voice small. "It's quieter. I'm sure," I said, smiling. They didn't know what to say. They were used to being the ones with the power, the words, the control. But now they had nothing. I didn't need to say anything more. I turned to walk away, but stopped. I looked back at them. "You know," I said, "you didn't just lose everything. You lost me. And that was the biggest mistake you ever made." Lisa swallowed hard. Daniel looked away. They knew I was right. I left them standing there in the middle of that small, dusty market. And I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew the image of me would stay with them. They would remember the woman they thought they broke. The woman they thought would disappear. And they would regret it. For the rest of their lives. Because I didn't just win. I rose above them. And they would never, ever forget that. I walked away into the sunlight, the warmth on my skin like a quiet promise. My past didn't follow me anymore. It stayed behind, trapped with them, in the small broken life they chose. I had a whole world ahead of me. A life built on my own terms. No more begging to be seen. No more waiting for someone to choose me. I chose me. And that was the only victory that ever mattered.